Well, personally, there's the financial freedom has been, I think, the most beneficial thing to me. It's just really nice to not have to worry about money. So I would say that I'm a sex worker, but or I would say I'm an escort. When I was at university, I was always sort of working part-time in retail or admin type roles, which is fine, but obviously quite tiring and for very little pay. And there was a meeting where there was a couple of cam girls who were people who put on like private cam shows online for paying customers. I was sort of intrigued about that because I've never been someone who's really precious about sex. So I thought I would try that, and I did, and it was okay to start off with, but it wasn't particularly reliable and I didn't feel like I was earning enough, so I thought I would try escorting, which I did. For a lot of sex workers would see themselves as being empowered doing it, and I think that's a fine thing. I don't think any kind of labour is empowering, you know. But I do believe that everyone should be respected in doing it and should be safe in doing it. If I didn't have like sex with clients, I would probably go mad, only because I don't get to have sex outside of that. But that's not to say that the majority of it is bad sex, you know. No, like, yeah. Which is fine. I mean, because obviously they're paying, and that, you know, I'm not there to enjoy myself. I'm lucky because I've kind of always been open about sexuality anyway. It's not often the case. Like there are some escorts that I've met that are very kind of like, you know, actually quite sexually conservative. I could never tell my parents for obvious reasons, but you know, when it comes to friends and family and people that I kind of meet socially, I've been lucky in that respect. And I think I'm quite fortunate for that because I know of other escorts who don't have that. The job it carries a lot of risk, right? Obviously there are tools that we have in our arsenal to make sure that we're as safe as possible, but that doesn't mean that like a few weirdos don't slip through the net. There are also a few resources online that sex workers can use to try and avoid dangerous or dodgy clients. So there are services like Ugly Mugs where you can input a phone number and see if it comes up with a match. And there's forums as well where you can search for numbers, because people will post warnings about dangerous clients, but also just time wasters as well. And that's one of the first ways that I sort of screen clients. And then I just take bookings by phone, just by appointment, as would any other, you know, like a hairdresser or any kind of business like that would. There was a guy a few weeks ago who was texting, no, he called actually, and he made a booking, which I like cancelled immediately because I searched for his number and I found a match that said that he was like, that he like intentionally left bad feedback and he was just like malicious and whatever. So I cancelled it, and then he was like, oh, that's a shame. He was texting me, he was like, oh, that's a shame. I was going to pay you like more. He offered to pay like more than my rate, which is always like a red flag. He'd been like texting, calling for weeks after that. That's when like the abuse came in. Like that, so many of them are like that who get rejected. Then it's like the classic male thing, you know, when, you know, so a guy says something to you in the street and you ignore them or tell them to go away, and they're like, oh, well, you're an ugly fat bitch anyway, like that kind of thing. Except it's like leveled up because to them, like, you're a whore, so the idea of them rejecting you is like even more of an insult. It's not something that affects me in the same way that you kind of develop a thick skin as a woman when, you know, just got guys just saying that kind of shit to you anyway, whether you're a sex worker or not. There are some bookings that I have where it's like I'm stifling my laughter. This one guy who's like quite old, and he just said, what did he say to me? He was like, he called me a rascal, and it was just so funny. He was like, oh, you naughty little rascal. So at the moment, the UK works under a law in which buying sex and selling sex are both legal, but there are various practices around sex work that are illegal. So paying for sex on the street or selling sex on the street So the curb crawling, those are illegal activities, and you can be prosecuted for that. If you see a sex worker who is trafficked, even if you don't have knowledge of that, you can be prosecuted. The legality of working with another sex worker under the same roof constitutes, in the eyes of the law, as a brothel, which is illegal. So there are a few sort of stumbling blocks when it comes to working together for safety, but that's under UK law. Those kind of laws have been put in place with maybe not with the intention, but they claim to have the intention of protecting sex workers from being exploited. They tend to have the effect of putting sex workers in harm's way. There are certain ways in which police can, because of the nature of the law, a lot of it is sort of open to interpretation. In my opinion, I think that you can kind of make a parallel between criminalising sex work in whatever capacity, along with criminalising any other kind of act that people deem immoral, like abortion. Criminalising abortion doesn't make it go away, it just makes it more unsafe. I think it's incredibly frustrating because I think a lot of these people have their hearts are in the right place. They just want to protect people, they don't want women to be exploited. And in a sense, we're kind of, I think that we agree with a lot of these people, especially with feminists who want to criminalise sex work. And the thing is, there are lots of people who think that the act of buying sex from a woman is fundamentally misogynistic, fundamentally exploitative. I disagree with that ideologically, but people should be safe, and that's the bottom line is safety and harm reduction. You might have friends or family that are sex workers, and you don't know that, and it's important to keep an open mind about it. You wouldn't want your daughter doing this. And it's no, of course you wouldn't want your daughter doing this, but you'd want her to be safe if she was. It's just totally and completely missing the point.